Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life, and in today's video, I wanted to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the new T-Mobile comparison coverage map against AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon. So before I start the video, I gotta say great job by T-Mobile. I gotta give credit when credit's due. If they can reach this goal by the end of year, they're going to be much more in competition with AT&T and Verizon than ever before. Now, they're not going to be toe-to-toe with Verizon, as you will see throughout the video, but they can make the claim that they have solid coverage, and which they do. So as you can see, the darker pink is where T-Mobile and Verizon overlap. That's where they both have coverage. And then the lighter pink is where T-Mobile only has coverage and Verizon doesn't. So as you will see, I'm located in El Paso, and I've driven the I-10 from El Paso to Fort Stockton about a year ago. And on that entire stretch, and I don't want to bash T-Mobile, but I had better service on Sprint than I did with T-Mobile. I was roaming on Telcel for part of the trip, and then I was roaming on Edge with AT&T. Since then, I have not driven that stretch, but it looks like T-Mobile will have full native coverage that entire stretch, all the way pretty much until San Antonio. From El Paso, there might be a few areas where I might run into roaming or have no service, but it is definitely looking like also on that stretch from what this looks like. Now, we don't know necessarily if this coverage is already up. That would be probably the only thing negative that I would have to say, is that they put this comparison map up for the end of 2017 coverage, but they already put it up now. Now, I know T-Mobile works ahead of schedule, but in some of these areas, currently this coverage won't be there until the end of the year. And a regular consumer might look at this comparison map and say, oh, I'm going to switch to T-Mobile. They have coverage in my area, and then they end up not having any coverage. But as you can see on this stretch of I-10, it looks like T-Mobile will have more coverage in some of the stretch than Verizon. Verizon doesn't look like, as you can see right here where the lighter pink is, that's where T-Mobile would have coverage and Verizon wouldn't. So T-Mobile is gaining some of the pops of LTE by doing that, but overall, on the square miles of LTE, they still won't be toe-to-toe with Verizon. As you can see, all these gray areas, that's where Verizon has LTE service and T-Mobile doesn't, which is still quite a bit. So that's definitely really good to see. And like you see, all these lighter pink areas is where T-Mobile is going to fill in coverage where Verizon has no coverage. But like for instance, if we go on this stretch on I-10 towards Phoenix, all that area by Show Low and Pintop Lakeside, all that area is covered by Verizon, and T-Mobile has no coverage there. So that essentially is where T-Mobile is really going to gain on the square miles of LTE once they fill in those areas. And then they can say, we are toe-to-toe on coverage with Verizon. But let's say as a regular consumer, you're looking at you're not a heavy user or anything like that. You just want a valued plan that's a bit cheaper. With T-Mobile, I can drive all the way on the 10, according to this coverage map, all the way to LA, and I'll have service. So I think that's a win-win. I think that's when you get a better value, a cheaper plan with more features, and you still get to have a solid 4G LTE. Now, one thing that I want to point out is, let me zoom this out a little bit, where T-Mobile is going to gain big time. Now, as we zoom out, you can kind of tell that, Verizon's still ahead in the coverage department quite a bit. On this map, it doesn't look like it that much, but on the square miles, it's probably, I want to say, around another 800,000 square miles of LTE more on Verizon. Now, what we're going to see T-Mobile catch is AT&T. So all the blue is where AT&T has coverage, and all the lighter pink is where T-Mobile has coverage. So they're going to get about close to toe as it'll get. So in the pink areas is where T-Mobile has coverage, where where AT&T doesn't, and in the blue areas is where AT&T has coverage, where T-Mobile doesn't. So it looks like to be about equal, quite the opposite. So AT&T will have coverage here, but T-Mobile will have coverage in Montana. So they can claim just about the same pops as AT&T, but they won't have equal service in certain areas. So in certain areas you can go, like let's say a little bit outside of South Dakota, AT&T will have service, but T-Mobile won't. But then T-Mobile can still claim the same amount of pops of LTE because they have services in Montana where AT&T doesn't have service there. So it goes hand in hand. Either service is going to be good in the future. I think T-Mobile is still going to be valued a little more. So they'll be taking some more AT&T customers. And if T-Mobile really wants to go after Verizon, they're going to have to fill in the rest of that square miles of LTE coverage within the next 2 years, as they have been aggressively expanding the network. And with the 600 megahertz about to be put to use, I think they can do it. I think they can definitely catch Verizon and beat AT&T. I think they can beat AT&T within a year or so, roughly, depending on if this end of year coverage is going to be accurately implemented by the end of this year. They usually hit their targets as far as goals that they set out, but we'll see. It'll definitely be interesting. So I just wanted to make this video to do the comparison and see who has the better coverage according to T-Mobile's end of 2017 coverage map. One thing that I also want to point out that I forgot is these coverage maps from the other carriers that T-Mobile is comparing their end of year coverage is the carrier's current coverage map. So carriers are also going to improve towards the end of this year, so their coverage is also going to change. So I think also that's a bit iffy on that part. But other than that, great strides by T-Mobile. Just for the hell of it, I'm going to put Sprints. And as you can see, damn. There are a few areas where Sprint does have coverage where T-Mobile doesn't, but look how much bigger T-Mobile's 4G LTE coverage is than Sprint's. All that light pink that you see, Utah, Vegas, Arizona, California, Nevada, Idaho, is all T-Mobile coverage where Sprint has no coverage. So this is getting quite a bit sad. And even, look at this. Look, all that pink. There's hardly any LTE coverage. It looks like Ohio, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, Wisconsin a little bit. Chicago is where Sprint overlaps with T-Mobile, but other than that, T-Mobile is the clear winner. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. Let me know in the comment section down below what your opinions and thoughts are on this. Is T-Mobile once again overselling the network a bit? I could not find the regular coverage map. As soon as I went on coverage, this came up. So definitely it's going to be interesting to see the rest of the year. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. Give these videos a thumbs up. It keeps me motivated, keeps me going. Like, share, subscribe. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.